Alright guys, Ultra Maximus back, and I'm here with the 7th installment of my video series of top 10 movies. This time I want to talk about the top 10 war movies, and I separated this from action adventure because war movies really are kind of a genre onto their own. So again, to reiterate, not what I think the best of all time is, not what made the most money, who starred in it, the best effects, those kind of things. They're my top 10 and why I think they should be in my top 10. So let's take a look at them. All right, so at number 10 in my top 10 war films is Platoon. This is Oliver Stone's um, first of a trilogy of war movies that he's done. And the tagline on this, the first casualty of war is innocence. And this movie is supposed to be about Stone's experiences in Vietnam. It stars Tom Berenger, William Dafoe, and Charlie Sheen. It's a very good Vietnam War movie. I do like it. How much is really based upon his experiences, I don't know. I'm sure there was a lot of artistic license going on, but it's a very good movie about a young military recruit who's really dealing with the morality of war, and it's a very intense film. So that's why it makes my number 10. All right, number 9 in my war movies goes to Apocalypse Now, the film by Francis Ford Coppola. It's 1979, I think, when it came out. This movie stars Marlon Brando and Robert Duvall and Martin Sheen, which I find ironic that my number 10 film starred his son, Charlie Sheen. But at any rate, what this film is about, if you have never seen it, it's basically about um, a group of military guys that are sent in to go after Marlon Brando's character, who's a suspected renegade, and they think he's gone insane. Military, I think he's a general or colonel. No, colonel. Yeah, he's a colonel. And so they go in and they got to deal with this guy, and it's just really fantastic. Great film, very brilliant, and again, probably one of the best military movies that's been put out in a long, long, long time. All right, number 8 is MASH. Fantastic film. The tagline on here is MASH is what the new freedom of the screen is all about. And MASH really kind of, it's supposed to be about the Korean War, but in reality, it was about the Vietnam War, and it was a political statement against the Vietnam War. This is about a group of doctors in a mobile army hospital unit and dealing with the casualties as they come in. They're an ER unit on the outsides of the battlefield, so they've got to deal with all the people getting shot up and brought in and trying to save lives, and they really don't want to be there. And it's all about character development and what these kind of wars can do to people. And it spawned probably one of the bigger television series, in the past 30 years. Everybody knows MASH and that theme song to it. And the only actor actually to survive casting from the movie to the television series was the actor that played Radar. Everybody else was recast in the television series. So, at any rate, great film. It's not the same. It's a lot darker movie than what the TV show is. The TV show is a lot lighter because they had a broadcast on television than the film was itself. So, very good flick. If you've never actually seen it, sit down and take a look at it. Good stuff. All right, number 7, I've got Pearl Harbor. And I was kind of questioning whether to put this in here or not. It's got Josh Hartnett. It's got um, Kate Beckinsale. Is that who it is? Ben Affleck. Jennifer Garner's actually in this film. It's about some airmen that are assigned out in Pearl Harbor during the attack of the Japanese during World War II. Ben Affleck's character was in England, and he was fighting the Nazis. They thought he had died, and then they come back, and there's this romance that kind of goes on during the story between Hartnett's character and Affleck's girlfriend, who's assigned the same base, and then it all comes to a head when Affleck comes back and he finds out what's been going on. And the reason that I put this in here is because the Japanese attack, when they attacked Pearl Harbor, that is some of the best effects I have seen for the attack of Pearl Harbor. The rest of the film it's okay, it's not too bad, but when they actually get to the attack itself, those scenes are spectacular and amazing. I'd like to see this re-released in 3D just for those scenes. So that's why it made my top 10 list, purely for the action of the attack on the base itself. Okay, number 6, I've got Patton, starring George C. Scott as General Patton during World War II. This is a great movie. It's about General Patton and him dealing with the war as he's basically running over northern Africa. It's him dealing with the war itself, dealing with his troops, dealing with the powers that be above him, and just trying. He's such a bigger than life character, and I think George C. Scott really pulls that off. That, I mean, he was probably too big for his britches, but I mean, that was the bravado that he had, and he was a larger than life guy, and him trying to deal with a changing world, a complex situation, and his own ego, and how it all fit in there. And this is one of those movies, when you start watching it, you just can't stop watching, and that's why it makes the top 10. All right, and number 5, we've got Windtalkers with Nicolas Cage. And this movie was very, very interesting. It's another World War II film, and I really didn't see this until years after it had come out, a couple of years after it had come out of the theater. And what this movie is about, it's the Navajo Indians of North America, the Native Americans here in the United States. In World War II, they discovered that the Japanese had no clue what those languages were, and they used them as code talkers. So they would get on the radio, and the Japanese just could not break the Navajo language because they had no clue what it was, or what kind of, they couldn't figure out the code. So, and they called these guys Windtalkers, and they ended up being some very vital parts of the United States Navy and Marines and Army during World War II in the War for the Pacific. And this movie really, really illustrates that. And I was very impressed with the film. Nicolas Cage does a pretty good job in it, and it brings to life a part of the war that a lot of us didn't really know much about, and it really, really impressed me. So that's why it's number 5 on the list. Okay, so number 4 on my list of war movies is going to Glory. This movie is amazing. A Civil War film. It's about a regiment of black soldiers. You've got Matthew Broderick leading the group. Morgan Freeman's in it. Denzel Washington's in it. It just phenomenal. Just a great cast of characters, and it really kind of shows you what these soldiers went to go through, and they were really kind of a joke in the Civil War. A lot of the Army didn't think they were worth a shit and weren't capable of doing anything, and they were basically doing what they needed to do to prove their worth and value to the Union. And we really get to see it at the end. It's a very sad ending. A lot of them die, most of them die, but they get to go into battle, and it's a very explosive. It was very controversial at the time. There's some very graphic scenes and a lot of very deep and fiery character development, especially amongst the troops. So if you've never seen this film, sit down, watch it. It is outstanding. All right, at number 3 of my war movies, it's Full Metal Jacket. It says, in Vietnam, the wind doesn't blow, it sucks. Um, this is probably the epitome of Vietnam movies to me. I think this is what I would believe was, and I've talked to my father and some other veterans who were in Vietnam, and you know, they all agree this is probably the quintessential Vietnam movie. My dad said that the scenes, he said 90% of the scenes that he saw were 100% accurate, and he said it was the most believable thing he's ever seen on film. And it's just a damn good movie. Of course, we get Arlie Ermy. It's his debut as an actor. He was a drill instructor for a long, long, long time, and obviously did a great job in this movie. It's one of Stanley Kubrick's best films, I think. It's up there with 2001, definitely, but this probably really struck a lot of people. It's very aggressive, a lot of character development as we basically follow a character go through. His name's Joker, and we watch him go through, and along with some of the other guys, just experience Vietnam and the hardships of war. It's just breathtaking at some points of some of the shit that goes on that these guys had went through. So if you've never seen it, that is a crying shame. It is a great film, and that's why it's here, number 3, top 10 war movies. All right. At number 2, I've got Gods and Generals, another Civil War movie starring Jeff Daniels and Robert Duvall and Stephen Lang. This basically is about Stonewall Jackson and the him choosing which sides in the Civil War, and him becoming a general, and um, running his campaigns, and it's just an amazing film. It's very, very long. I remember going to see this in Fort Wayne, Indiana, when I was on a business trip, and I had a day off, so I'm like, yeah, I think I'm going to go watch this movie. And I didn't realize there was an intermission. And it was the first film, modern film I've ever been to at the theater that had an intermission. And when it came up, intermission, I remember to this day, there was a grandfather had taken his grandson in, and I heard the grandson ask, "What's intermission mean?" And the grandfather said, "That means you get to play video games for 20 minutes." And great memory, loved it. But all in all, if you're a Civil War buff, this is probably one of the best Civil War movies I have ever seen. Great performances, great action, great character development. It's just top notch, no doubts. All right. And finally, number 1 war movie in my list is Steven Spielberg's Saving Private Ryan, with Tom Hanks and Matt Damon and a slew of other great actors in it. This is by far the best war movie I have ever seen. World War II, I mean, it opens up with the attack of Normandy, storming the beach. It's just amazing. I remember when we went to go see this, and uh, Dolby Digital had just come out, and listening to all the gunfire. And in fact, one of my friend's grandfathers, they all went to go see it, and he had to get up and leave. He couldn't stay in the film. He was there for 5 minutes watching that opening scene because he was there at the beach and had to get up and leave. He said it was that realistic. So, I mean, the colors in the film, the cinematography, the actors do such a great job, and I mean, it's one of those things where it's just like, wow, I can't believe this is what's going on or what happened, and the effects in the film, and the reading of the Abraham Lincoln letter and sending in to find this guy because he lost the other 2 brothers. I mean, this is, in my opinion, this is probably Steven Spielberg's swan song. I think this is the best film he has ever done, and I really doubt he'll ever be able to top this. Along with Tom Hanks, this, I think, is probably one of his best pieces of work. So, there it is, number 1 war movie in my list. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you like it. Let me know what you think. What are your favorite war movies? Add a comment, make a video, attach it on here. look for other videos I got going on, look for other videos in the series, and I'll talk to you guys later.